Let's talk about cigarette cravings and how to move past them. In today's video, I'm going to give you 6 tips, and it's very important that you implement each of these tips next time you experience a craving for a cigarette, because cravings, unlike the consequences of continuing to smoke cigarettes, won't actually kill you. And I say this as someone who was deeply addicted to tobacco products, chewing tobacco, snus, cigarettes, vapes. I've really been around the block with this stuff. And I have successfully helped hundreds, if not thousands of people overcome nicotine addictions in our one-on-one coaching programs, which if you like today's video, you can learn a bit more about with the link in the video description. Tip number 1 to overcome cigarette cravings would be to acknowledge that it is just a craving. A cigarette craving is not the loss of a limb. It's not a diagnosis of COPD. It's not the pain of degenerative disc disease or arthritic development that can develop in your bones from smoking cigarettes. It's not a diagnosis of lung cancer. It's not that your house is burning down while you're standing in the middle of it. A craving is what you make it. A cigarette craving is a mindset. And the more that you indulge in that mindset, the more that you entertain that craving, the bigger of a problem it's going to become. And people make such a big thing of the cravings. And I understand this. I remember when I did. Oh my gosh, I'm having a craving. How am I going to function at work as a physician providing care to people? How am I going to interact with my family and socially because I'm so irritable, I'm so angry, I have this networking event coming up. I better just have a cigarette beforehand just so I'm calm and focused and I can make sure it goes successfully. It is just a craving. So next time you have a cigarette craving, I want you to look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm craving a cigarette. And what? Does that mean that you have to go smoke one? I'm craving a cigarette. And don't you still have other stuff you need to do today? Don't you still have other things in your life that you need to move on with? And I'm craving a cigarette. Well, it's a lot better to crave a cigarette, something that is temporary, something that is eventually going to pass, than winding up receiving some type of terminal diagnosis or suffering some complication of tobacco addiction and continued tobacco substance use. Those things are a lot harder to brush off your shoulder than a craving is. That I promise you. And I say this as someone, I don't mean to sound insensitive, but that did wind up suffering the consequences, very serious health consequences of abusing stimulants, tobacco products, cannabis products, adult media content for years of my life. So I've seen both sides of that spectrum. Now, there may be some people watching this who are like, but Dr. Frank, I already got diagnosed with back and spine problems from consuming cigarettes. I already got diagnosed with a COPD and a breathing disorder. And what winds up happening a lot of times with those individuals is they've been using cigarettes to manage the stress or to cope with whatever day-to-day things they experience in their life. They now get this bad diagnosis, and what happens? They wind up consuming more and more and more. And this happens because the mindset surrounding a craving is broken. Tip number 1, it's just a craving. So what? I have a cigarette craving. And what? And who cares? Tip number 2 is going to be to acknowledge the things in life that you actually crave. There is a reason why you want to quit consuming cigarettes. For me, as a business owner and many of the high-performance individuals I've helped quit cigarettes over the years, high-performance parents, high-performance business owners, high-performance fitness enthusiasts, a lot of people who smoke are actually genuinely concerned about their physical health. They work out, they eat healthy. It's not what people think when they think of someone who smokes cigarettes. What is it that you actually crave in life? Why is it that you want to quit? Maybe you crave better health because you're a grandparent and you want to keep up with your grandkids. Maybe you crave better health because you have a job, a career, a business that you need to maintain, and you fully understand that developing COPD or a cancer diagnosis or a loss of a limb or debilitating back pain resulting from damage to the vertebrae and the disc spaces from smoking is going to really take you out of your work environment for a prolonged period of time. And you know that's something that you don't want to happen. So what are the things that you actually crave in life? The answer to that is rooted in the reasons why you want to quit smoking. Next time you get a craving, get busy by starting to put your attention into the things that you actually crave in life. If that's improving your physical health, if that's improving your financial health, if that's improving your relationships, we want to start to focus there by getting busy and putting our attention into things in life that actually matter to us. Tip number 3, realize that a cigarette is a really, really weak thing. If you're sitting around right now or you're smoking, watching this, well, don't do this with a lit cigarette. You might burn yourself, and I don't want you to get burned watching my video. I can't have those type of lawsuits. But what I want you to do is go pick up an unlit cigarette. I want you to hold it in your hand, and I want you to crumble it up into the piece of paper and plant that it really is. You have to acknowledge that this thing that you can snap in half like a twig has no ability to manipulate you. It has absolutely zero power and zero control over your decision making. The idea that a cigarette has hijacked your neurochemistry and turned you into some compulsive animal that is incapable of making a change that millions of people every single year decide to make, cigarettes being one of the most commonly quit substances, is so absurd. And it bothers me even more because this is the message that's promoted by other addiction recovery programs, by Nicotine Anonymous, by Marijuana Anonymous, if we're talking about cannabis and some smoking blunts. They promote this idea that nicotine is this superhuman substance. And this messaging that we receive over and over and over again, you've probably received messaging like this from your doctor. You've probably heard other physicians say this. All it does is make us feel more powerless and weaker to something that truly holds no power. And I can prove that to you right now. Go snap a cigarette in half. Go crumble it up in your hands. The business owners that I've worked with over the years, and a lot of people who are in high performance jobs smoke, right? This is very, very common. I have a lot of parents that smoke. They got 2, 3, 4 kids, they're stressed, and this is their break, this is their reprieve. You're telling me you've accomplished all these things in life, these really, really hard things, and you are incapable of accomplishing something that very, 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 very average individuals achieve every single day, quitting cigarettes? You're not capable of that? Please, if you're thinking that way, your mindset is broken, it's been damaged, and we have to reprogram it. And if you need help with that, again, I want you to check out that link in the video description for our addiction exit protocol. Now, my next tip for you, I believe this is tip number 4, would be to simply get busy. When you get a craving, go distract yourself with something else. Most cravings will eventually pass, and they certainly get less over time. Time is a factor in this equation, and that's where our programs and the accountability can help a lot, getting you through that period of time, 3 months, a year, however long you need. But just get busy doing something else. For me, cleaning became a big thing for me. It became a hobby, and then eventually I actually had a cleaning business at one point. But cleaning, literally putting on headphones, listening to music, cleaning my car, cleaning my house, cleaning my office, just getting busy doing something else, anything else that doesn't involve sitting there and dwelling on this craving. Now, equally important as getting busy, and maybe this is tip number 5, is assess why you have the craving. It's not because nicotine and cigarettes are some superhuman drug. There's probably a reason. Maybe you're hungry, and one of the best things you could do is go eat some fruit. Maybe you're exhausted because you had a really long day with the kids. You had a really challenging day at work. All types of struggles came up because you're running this business, or you're a medical doctor. I've worked with tons of medical doctors and nurse practitioners when it comes to helping them quit smoking. You treated 20, 30, 40 patients in a day, and this cigarette at the end of the day is just the thing that you look so forward to, or you think you look forward to, right? That's another mindset problem if you have that thought process that we have to deprogram. But maybe you're just tired, and guess what? When you get tired, your willpower goes down. And no, you don't need willpower to quit smoking, but to an extent, you need a little bit of it. And if you're exhausted at the end of the day, instead of saying, I'm weak, I'm not capable of saying no to a cigarette, assess and say to yourself, you know what? I'm exhausted. As a physician, I just treated 20 patients today. I had some really challenging cases, and maybe that's why I'm craving a cigarette, just because I'm exhausted. It's the same thing happens to people with junk food and stuff like that, right? The less sleep we have, the more exhausted we are, the more our executive decision making goes down, and then we get caught off guard in those moments of weakness for cravings. Maybe, like I said, you're hungry and you just need to go eat some fruit. Maybe you're dehydrated and you need to make a little electrolyte drink. We have a killer supplement stack that we use for people when it comes to quitting cigarettes that I usually recommend that can be pretty helpful. Maybe you're angry. Maybe you're stressed because you need to address something. Instead of, smoking a cigarette and obsessing over the craving, maybe address the thing that needs to be addressed that's actually irritating you. Okay, so acknowledge why you're having a craving, because once you can make sense of that, it's going to help you realize that you are not some weak, incapable, powerless person who's under the control of a thing that you can snap in half like a twig. Now, here's a bonus tip for you. There are effective ways to quit using nicotine replacement therapy, something that I used to be very against, something that I'm a little bit more friendly now after years of coaching literally hundreds of people to help them quit smoking cigarettes and quit using products like this. A lot of the hesitation around nicotine replacement therapy involves, well, I don't want to be a slave to something anymore. There's still some negative side effects from nicotine replacement therapy, like the gums and the pouches and the patches can cause problems. But in reality, you're reducing harm by like 98% by using NRT, maybe by 99%. And when used correctly, and we have very specific protocols that we use with our clients when it comes to nicotine replacement therapy, it can be a powerful tool. And the reason why it's a powerful tool is twofold. One, some people don't actually want to quit nicotine. They just want to quit smoking. And we can do that with a person. Some people want to quit nicotine altogether. And that can be achieved with the correct nicotine replacement therapy program and correctly tapering down on the nicotine replacement therapy. And I do it a little differently with people than you see recommended on the chewing gum boxes and the patches and things like that. We can move through that much, much quicker if your goal is to actually just totally stop, especially if we lock in on the right mindset. That's number one. And then two, on the proper supplementation. But there's a lot of stigma surrounding nicotine replacement therapy, and there really doesn't have to be. You're much better off using a nicotine patch than you are smoking a cigarette. And even if you've failed before to quit smoking, maybe you've tried other mindset programs, maybe you've tried nicotine replacement therapy, maybe you were working with your doctor and they gave you Wellbutrin and told you that was going to be the miracle cure to quitting smoking cigarettes. I can't tell you the amount of times I've seen people use Wellbutrin and then eventually go back to smoking because we never addressed the mindset and the thing that's most important. This is some of the major problems with how healthcare traditionally approaches quitting smoking, to be honest. But that's a whole nother video in and of itself. But just because you've tried something before, I don't want you to fall into the mindset that it's not going to work for you eventually in the future. Chances are something was just flawed in your attempt to quit in the past. If you went to a restaurant and you had a steak and the steak wasn't good, would you write off steak for the rest of your life and never order steak again at a restaurant? Of course you wouldn't. You would eventually order steak again because depending on the restaurant you go to, depending on the chef who's cooking the food, depending on the time of the day, it's going to really change the characteristics and the quality of that meal. It's the same thing when it comes to becoming recovered in addiction recovery programs, helping people quit smoking. And look, here's my very last tip for you. Remember, cravings are the death of addiction. A craving is your body's way of letting you know that that addiction is dying and that you're winning. I'm a Harry Potter fan, not by choice. My wife is and my child is, and naturally I kind of fell in love with the movies too. But if you know the movie Harry Potter, there's a scene where the evil Lord Voldemort is dying. And I always thought of the death of my addiction looking like the scene in Harry Potter where Lord Voldemort was getting, killed by Harry Potter. You can Google that video clip on YouTube if you want, and you'll see what I'm talking about, even if you have no context for Harry Potter movies. But listen, implement these 5 tips because, like I said, implementing these things is only going to improve your life for the better, whereas continuing to smoke cigarettes is not only going to continue to damage various aspects of your life, but it might eventually prematurely kill you, and no one wants that because a lot of people watching my videos have worked really, really hard to build beautiful lives for themselves, beautiful lives for their families. They've put in a lot of discipline, a lot of commitment, a lot of grit, and a lot of effort, and I don't want all of those beautiful character traits that you've used to go to waste. I want you to truly enjoy the life that you've built for yourself. And I would love to help you with that. So again, if this conversation interested you, check out the link in the video description. I also put the link in the pinned comment to teach you more about our one-on-one coaching addiction exit protocol. Until next time.